So welcome everyone back to another episode of the Health Made Simple show. I'm here with our host, Dr. Bart Precourt, who has been a healthcare practitioner for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, kinesiology, acupuncture, functional nutrition and supplementation and lab testing, all out of his clinic Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida, and virtually all around the world on Zoom, just like this. He's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a cutting edge health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to take their health to the next level. So he's worked with celebrities and athletes all around the world. And tonight is available to answer your questions, which is super exciting. But we're gonna start off. I'm so curious now. What happened in your clinic today? Why do you want to strangle this practitioner? Give us the details.
All right. So it really boils down to the power of words.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think this is what I'm bringing up. Not that I really want to strangle someone, but I always think about it all the time. As practitioners, as doctors, no doubt, part of our job is to do no harm and to lead. And then, I think that our job goes beyond just our specific skill set. So for example, I do acupuncture, I do nutrition, chiropractic, and I've been trained and skilled and licensed in all of those. But I also think there's a responsibility to go beyond those and understand the power of words, and especially coming from an influential source. Your doctor, you're putting a lot of, power and emphasis and trust into the words that they use. So,
well, people do. Once the doctor said, how many times do people say, well, my doctor said, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So what I'm going to share with you sounds innocent, but it's really not. And it goes into a bigger picture as well. So I'll dive in. This is just going to open up an entire can of worms, or we'll just keep it simple. So, a friend / patient client has been in, he was in today and just got over some health challenges. And so he saw many doctors, and one of the doctors did a scan, like an ultrasound of the liver and the gallbladder. And they told him, and I didn't have this conversation in the moment because I was like, all the things were going through my head. I couldn't say them in that moment. I had to pause on my emotions. And he said, yeah, my doctor said, he looked at my gallbladder and said, yeah, it's a little bit sludgy. Inevitably, we're going to have to take that out. That is when I want to strangle some. That's not fair.
Also, that is why inevitably they've just decided that person is going to continue down that path, that's going to be the outcome, especially saying it's so absolute. People believe it. They will believe that that's their only option.
Yeah. So, it makes me think of the deeper conversation about, what happens when we get words like that. And it's so interesting, Karen, when I take that conversation and I really give it some deeper thought, and what does it mean to the patient, and where's it coming from the doctor, and from the patient's perspective, man, a lot of things take place. So I'll tell you the easiest thing that takes place. It is not the best thing, but it's the easiest thing for the patient to do is to just comply and just say, okay, this is what I got. The doctor said it. And I'm not sitting here telling anyone to go against your doctor's wishes, but everything, so you guys can see where this goes, should be questioned. Everything.
And you want a doctor that's okay with that. I question a lot, and even for family members sometimes bring me because I question a lot. And some doctors don't like me, and they're not doctors that then I want to use. I want a doctor who's open to the fact that they're going to have to answer a whole bunch of questions. I've had ones go through surgery risks, and I'm like, great. So which ones of those risks have actually happened to you in your surgery room, and what happened? And I've made them tell me what thing, but why not? Why can't you ask?
So these questions that should be asked. So I want to go back to the patient thing, because this is interesting. Yeah. The fact that the easiest thing for the patient to do is comply means there's a that literally on a vibrational level, that they will just move in the direction of developing X, Y, and Z. So this happened to be a gallbladder situation. Do you know how many times in my career I've heard doctors say, well, eventually we'll have to replace your knee. Eventually we're going to have to replace your hip. And people just believe it. And they may then vibrate on that. Literally, their cells, their mind, their consciousness vibrate on that for 5 or 10 years. And then, sure enough, go to the doctors and go, yeah, you know what? 10 years ago, my doctor told me that eventually I was going to have to place it. Man, and here it is. The time is true. So, I think this is really important, like in taking context, because the word I used was comply.
Yeah.
So, and I say that because complying is the easiest route out. And it's also very, very selfish on many levels. So, and that sounds kind of weird, but hear me out. If we just comply, when people say, oh, you're going to have cancer, you need a hip surgery, the easiest way out is just to say, okay, or say nothing and just accept it as truth. But when it comes to our health, if we're going to be compromised, we're also going to impact the people and the loved ones that we have around us.
Yeah.
The reason I say it's kind of selfish, because if we just take it, then we're going to be most likely negatively impacting the people around us. Now, in this particular situation, the gentleman who told us, and I don't believe for a second he believes this to be true, because I immediately combated it, put it to shame, say, you know what, easy breezy. One of the simplest things is to get your gallbladder unsludgy, and we just use a beet product. Make sure you drink more beet juice, blah, blah, blah. And he owned that as well. But, compliance is kind of selfish in the sense that it's easy, which then, like, my mind was going to many different directions here, because shortly after that, I had a young woman in my office who has been asked and requested to get a vaccine or lose her job. Now, the easy part, so this is what I mean by it's easy and it's semi-selfish to comply. The easy thing for her to do would be to comply. Yet she doesn't want it. She doesn't believe in it. It doesn't work for her. Everything about her soul doesn't want to do this. But the easy thing would be comply, because the hard part is she's probably going to lose a significant job. The selfish part goes on two parts. One, she believes fully, and this is our conversation, that there is a risk factor to do with the vaccine, right? So what if she complies and gets sick? She now put everyone else in her family, I'm not going to say at risk for what's taking place, but kind of put them off, compromise their life, because now they're going to have to help support or whatever her if she compromises her health. And then the other part that's kind of selfish with the complying, and listen, we all comply to something. Like,
oh, yeah. We do, even without realizing it.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm not knocking it in general, but I think it's a conversation that's so real that needs to be happening now. But when someone complies against their own wishes, and let's say it's a whole group of people, let's just say, because this is real, let's just say it's about the conversation of getting the jab or not. And for the most part, since June, anyone that's getting the vaccine isn't doing it because they want it. The most part, they're doing it because they have to. Now, each one of those people that does it makes it harder for the next one. Yeah. So for those of the people out there that don't want to comply and are trying to put up the good fight, every time one of the soldiers falls, they have to do more work. So to bring all this back, this is I guess what I want to share with everyone tonight about words. Words are so powerful. You don't have to accept them. You don't have to comply to the words, especially that medical care providers give us. I'm not like, in not complying doesn't mean that you have to have an argument with them. It doesn't, but it allows you to ask questions and develop the best strategies. So they could be being from their position. It could be their truth. So we don't have to dislike that individual, but just be aware of what we accept and, or can kind of comply to. So fortunately, in this scenario, the gentleman had absolutely, like, he was not like, I don't believe for a second he was going to believe that his gallbladder coming out in a couple of years like that. He was like, no, I just learned my lesson. I'm changing ways. Yeah. But I just wanted to share that, because those are the real things, but we hear it every day. We hear it with, oh, your grandma had arthritis, you're probably going to have it too, or whatever.
Yeah. But then it happens. It's so true. And even, when the doctor does say that to you, the other part is maybe being able to have, this person today was able to come to you and maybe have somebody else reaffirm his belief that maybe he didn't have to get it out. Like, sometimes it can be hard because you actually have to believe that that's not true, what the doctor's saying to you, just just thinking it, like if you, yeah, somehow you have to believe that it's not true, right? With more information or going to another practitioner or being able to learn about actually what affects the gallbladder.
Yeah, so that's why this can open up a can of worms, because that's why censorship is so bad. Because you don't get to hear another voice.
Yeah.
If that's your resources. So this gentleman just happened to be in my office. So I just happened to be able to, firsthand just kind of like squash it and then move forward. And because we have a great relationship, I've worked with him for years, so I have a lot of trust. A lot of people give their practitioners a lot of trust, as they should, but it doesn't to take everything without questioning. So, all right, that's over. Good.
Yeah. Yes. No, I mean, it is, I think though, even just from the gallbladder point of view, it's a good point to have. You need to make up your own beliefs about your own body and decide what's possible. To be honest, in all, not even just health, in all aspects of your life, people tell you can or can't do things with all aspects of your life, right? And you get to believe what's true about that.
Amen to that. And just quick note, yes, it's sludgy gallbladders are easy to fix. They're no big deal.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question then. All right. What could be causing weight gain and thinning hair if your thyroid numbers are within normal range?
Okay, so this kind of leads to the conversation that I'll often say that thyroid gets blamed for everything, right? So no doubt, like if our thyroid is dysfunctional, if you're in hypothyroidism, it can slow down your metabolic activity, and therefore you can gain weight. And then no doubt about it, the thyroid play a role in loss of hair, but there's also many other things. Immediately when I think of that right there, the simple answer is cortisol. It's stress. So stress is probably the first cause of those two things to happen simultaneously. So I'll speak to two parts of that. Hair loss and stress go hand in hand. There's a lot of good things that we need, like we need minerals, we need biotin, which is B7, we need some B3. There's some very specific type of nutrients we need to nurture the hair follicle. Yet when we're under stress, we inhibit the absorption of those into those hair, like into up regulating those nutrients into the hair follicle, and then it dies, and then it falls out. And this can happen rapidly and fast. That's one of the causes. And then there's other things that take place simultaneously that often just kind of get overlooked. And sometimes you need a practitioner to help navigate through this. So a lot of times under stress, you change the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. You're releasing too much. It's weak over time, and therefore you cannot absorb iron properly. Now we got a twofold issue. We got a B vitamin deficiency, because that's a fight or flight, like it's a water-based mineral vitamin anyways. So under stress, man, we are burning it up at twice the rate. So I'll go back now. Now we'll talk more on the hormone level, where cortisol, which is a hormone, it's a stress hormone. When you start to, produce more cortisol than needed, it's an important hormone. Don't get me wrong. Like it gets crucified as a bad guy all the time. It's the excessive use of cortisol, meaning you're constantly in fight or flight. You're constantly under stress. You're on the go. You're not sleeping properly. Maybe you don't have stress, but you're not sleeping. You will produce more cortisol. That cortisol, once we have cortisol, stimulates the liver to release sugar. So this could happen in the middle of the night if you're not sleeping good, or have like a moment. And when that releases that sugar, could be anytime during the day, then your body releases another hormone called insulin. And if you have enough sugar in the body and you're getting extra because of the stress, then your body releases that insulin and it stores that sugar as fat. And you haven't eaten one molecule of sugar, but you're gaining it like you're eating it all day. So with the thyroid though, so my quick answer to that, Karen, is that most likely it's cortisol and it's stress related. So, all the good things that we can do, take a walk, get outside, get some vitamin D, get off the stimulants, focus on sleep. If you have the energy to exercise, get some light exercise in, proper foods, get rid of the sugar, etc. But here's the thing. If stress goes unchecked long enough, and this is real important to understand for everyone that has a thyroid case, this is what happened first. Some level of prolonged stress, physical, too much exercise, too many chemicals and toxins come in the body, glyphosate, all this other stuff that's out there, crap, alcohol, whatever it may be, physical or mental. We could just be under emotional stress. If that stress, we're stuck in sympathetic dominant, week after week, month after month, year after year, and you're checking your thyroid, and it's normal, give it time. It will go into hypothyroidism. And here's why. This innate immune system we have, this innate wisdom within the body says, man, you can't keep this up. We're going to make you tired. And it does some key things along the way to make you tired and stop the actions you're doing. One, slows you down because it doesn't, the thyroid hormone is part of your metabolic activity, speeds things up, slows things down. So it starts to decrease the amount. So you have to slow down. That's number one. Number two, it starts to make your extremities cold. You do not function well with cold extremities. Those are hands and feet. And these are all thyroid issues, right? And then, of course, we have fatigue. So just general fatigue that goes along with hypothyroidism. And then there's a bunch of other things that really the third one, I already kind of mentioned fatigue, but it's brain fog. Hypothyroidism usually comes with brain fog. So when your body is tired, your extremities are cold, and you have brain fog, it's your body's way of trying to protect you. I know that sounds crazy. Based on what you're giving it, you're so deficient, so out of balance, something's not right. So it's trying to save you in the weirdest way. So you can look at like if you find out that you have hypothyroidism, to step back and be like, oh, this isn't a quick fix. This isn't just dump more T4 in me. It doesn't fix it. It never fixes it. It may bring your blood hormone levels back up, but it doesn't pull the weight off your body. It doesn't change your stress. You got to look at the whole thing, how you move, how you eat, and how you think. So just keep in mind, right now, it's not blamed on your thyroid. Doesn't mean your thyroid's not down regulating yet, but most likely it's cortisol causing that weight gain.
Yeah. And so this really gives this person an opportunity to do something about it before it actually gets to the point where we're seeing thyroid, dysfunction come up on blood tests, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it may warrant, if you're testing the thyroid, remember the thyroid is always either a liver thyroid, gut thyroid, or adrenal thyroid case. So you may want to, in this scenario, test, or at least do some evaluation of what's taking place with your adrenal glands. And that's where you would do a home test. And that's what they call an ASI, an adrenal stress index. That's kind of easy. You basically spit in a vial, 4 vials, send them in, and then you get the results in a couple of days. And that'll let you know that if your adrenal glands are capable or how much cortisol they're producing, if they're producing too much or too little.
Okay. And if somebody wants to do that test?
Real simple. They can just reach out to the office, and we can, wherever they are, we can just send it to them. Like I said, it's at home. And then typically what we'll do is we'll send it out to you, and they'll send us the results. We email them to you. And if you want me to discuss it and kind of go through like what to do with it, then we sit down for a consult, just like we're doing right now.
Yeah. Awesome. So they can be anywhere in the country, right? They don't have to be.
Yeah. They can be Australia for that matter.
Yeah, totally true. Awesome. All right, I'll put the details in the chat here. Okay, follow on a bit from that. If you've experienced hair loss for 8 or 9 years and you're finally able to get out of that fight or flight mode, will your hair start to grow back?
Yeah, I find most of the time, I'm going to make a small assumption here that this is a female. So typically, probably shouldn't do that, but I am going to make that assumption.
It is.
Typically, with a lot of the females, I'd say yes. With the males, I would say no. I will see a true alopecia where there's certain follicles that are gone and they're bye-bye. If you've been in that process for a long period of time, it tells me, so if I don't have 8-9 years to lose any more hair, it's just, so it tells me your body to do it. It's still trying to do its job. And if you feel like you have moved past, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, through whatever was that primary stressor in your life, and not just move past it, but you're doing what you can to, help your body heal up, detoxify the thoughts that got you there, detoxify the, all the things that were in your body, and then start to regenerate. Yes. And there's some really good strategies. I've seen some wild things, Karen, over the years. I've seen complete, what I'd call bald women, recover full head of hair.
Yeah, wow.
Sometimes it comes back a little different. That's always been interesting, where it might come back curly where it was straight before, like stuff like
Really?
that. Yeah, that's like, yeah, I've seen that in more than one occasion. I have no explanation for it. But yeah, I've seen it in more than one situation.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but I mean, male hair loss isn't always associated with stress. That's a different thing.
Typically, there's male balding patterns, and same.
Yeah.
We probably could have done a better job if we were treating our bodies better and our nutrition better. No doubt. But there's usually a pattern and just the way that your body, your head, and again, we have patterns. Just like you may look and a structure look like your dad or something like that, same size, shape.
Yeah.
We can have certain male balding patterns very similar. My brother and I kind of like, it's the same thing, right? He got no hair, I got no hair. Different color, but for the most part, I don't see as much success in males, quite frankly. But we're so lucky we can just shave our head and be just as cool.
Yeah. So that's true. Just as cool. Awesome. All right. Next question. What advice can you give for a herniated disc and coping with sciatica pain?
Yeah, so that's herniated disc. So listen, I'm gonna just real quickly. I'm gonna throw out if you have a herniated disc, there's a great supplement help to heal up, help strengthen the fibrotic tissue around it. So we got to think those little fibers around the discs. We want to strengthen them. So ideally that they don't literally go from herniated to a prolapsed disc, where it breaks free and it kind of leaks out. There's something called Ligaplex 1. It's a little different. There's Ligaplex 1 and Ligaplex 2, but if you have a herniated disc, that's probably the best thing for it. There are things, Karen, I don't know if we have some access to, I've had 3 herniated discs in my lower spine. And for the most part, they're all healed up. And I know they say you can't do that, but you can do that. It takes time and patience. There is a spinal flow video that is on our website. And that is a routine and a practice I do every single day, and I'll recommend it for anyone. It's probably the best spinal care single thing you can do in 2 minutes. And really what you want to be able to, well, let me address the sciatic nerve. Just because you have a herniated disc does not mean it is the primary cause of the sciatic nerve. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. A lot of times that herniated disc has been there forever. Like it could have been there for 5 or 10 years and just something else took place. And now there's no room and it's pressing on that sciatic nerve. Man, if you've ever had sciatic pain before, it is a beast. Yeah. So I would suggest a chiropractor, if you're local, to help you out. And make sure you have a good conversation with them, because you want to make sure that it's approached right. It's safe. Like I see people with herniated disc all the time. That's how for me, that was my bridge into chiropractic back, when I was 19 years old. I was told that I had 3 herniated discs. I was done playing contact sports. I was done lifting and running. I was 19 years old when that happened. And
crazy. Talk about words you say, hey?
Yeah, really. Fortunately, at the time, I had a very non-complying, she's still non-complying mom.
Yeah.
Only complier. And so she was like, whatever. My kid's 19 years old. And she literally drove me from the hospital to her chiropractor, which is the most odd thing. It's not odd now, but in the time when I'm 19 years old, we're talking 30 years ago, it was odd because I'd never heard that word spoken out of my mother's mouth before, like ever. I'd never spoken the word chiropractic. I didn't know anything about it. And I remember going and I remember saying, what are we going to one of those quacks for? Like I knew nothing. But sure enough, I went there and the guy educated me and said, man, your body's a healing machine. You got to just, provide the right environment for it to heal. We'll get some pressure off the nerves. That will calm down the muscles and the pain. And then we nurtured the spine back into good health. And, he said, man, you'd be surprised. The body's a healing machine. If you give it a good chance, it can do a lot of good things. So I'd say the person who's experiencing a sciatic nerve pain, I get very uncomfortable. Man, it's like, it literally, if it's with you during the night and stuff like that, it can quickly spiral you down. So if you haven't a chiropractor that's experienced, you usually use a referral, something like that. And I would say that there's a very good likelihood that you can get through this without a surgery, more than likely. And sometimes the inevitable is the inevitable, but more than not, you can get through this.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. I found the spinal flow video and put the link in the chat too if anybody wants to check that out, because that's really, it's a good thing for everyone to do, right? Like we could all use that.
Honestly, because we all sit like we're doing right now, we're compressing the spine, and this just puts a different angle, opens it up, and it helps you just kind of get connected to your body as well. You know, it's yoga-esque. I don't even call it a stretch, I just call it a flow.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Okay, cool. Next question. Dr. Bart, curious what herbs and spices you think are good for circulation, heart health, and moving cholesterol.
Okay, moving cholesterol. All right, so heart,
moving cholesterol numbers in the right way.
Couple out there. So I'm going to talk about some herbs. I don't know if these are herbs you're going to find in your spice cabinet, but nonetheless, hawthorn is probably one of the most underutilized heart herbs out there. Just phenomenal for heart regulation, for heart health.
Can you buy it as a herb, or is this one we need a supplement? How do you take hawthorn?
Supplement, you can get it in liquid form or in pill form.
Okay.
The company we use that I typically use, Standard Process, really the company out of Australia, called MediHerb. They produce probably the world's finest source of hawthorn. You know, and if you cooled hawthorn, you'd be like, yeah, I want to get me some of that. Yeah, super, super good. Another one is called mother's wort. I use mother's wort a lot, especially for people that have, like stress-induced dysfunction of the heart, AFibs, all of that stuff that go, irregular heartbeats, all of that. It's another fast acting, like, again, liquid form. I'm not saying it's super yummy, but it's something that really can shift the moment, like within moments. Often,
what was the Standard Process name for it, or is it?
Yeah, so this one's called mother's wort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we might have to get somebody to write in if they want to access that one.
Okay, yeah. So if whoever's asking that question, that those are kind of specifics that you typically need, like a practitioner to give for you. So you can just send us an email, and since you're listening to this, we'd be happy to provide you with a code that you can, order directly from the company. And then there's a couple others. So just overall general heart health, and I've talked about it here on the Health Made Simple show, something called Cardio Plus. Phenomenal. Yeah. Like that is the multivitamin of the heart. Like that right there, if we just gave it to every heart case in the country, we would have better heart health, period. The statistics would be mind-boggling because it's got a little vasodilator in there with vitamin G in there. It opens things up. It gives nutrients back to the heart, which is awesome. Cholesterol there. So there's a couple here. Probably one of the more effective ones is something called berberine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, berberine. The nice thing about it too, you don't really need to take a lot. Very effective, and it has a great relationship in how the body breaks down fats. So it's supportive of both the liver and the pancreas. And this is understandable because I'll give you one other here. We're total different mechanism, but this will get to the grassroots of things, of helping your body metabolize fats better. And obviously we're going to be mindful of, if you have to lower your cholesterol, make sure like it needs to be lowered. Like, we always just kind of like say it needs to be lowered, but if your triglycerides are high, most of the time that's diet, and berberine will help with that too. If you have a little fatty liver disease, berberine. And the other one, Karen, would be something called black cumin seed. Okay. And I really like this one as well. It's an herb in the plant world there. You just take one a day. Phenomenal for fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Phenomenal for both of those. There's one other that's out there that if you need to just get those numbers down fast, I don't keep you on it. Like it's not necessarily solving the problem, but it will get your cholesterol numbers down. Something called red yeast rice.
Red yeast rice.
Yeah. I get this from a different company than Standard Process. And again, I usually only have people on it short term where we really just want to drive those numbers down, but it's not necessarily through the mechanisms that we want to do for the long haul. We want to do it dietary wise and make sure the systems, organs, and glands, like your pancreas, like your gallbladder, like your liver, are supported properly. And that's what the berberine will do, and that's what the black cumin seed will do.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Yeah, and we've got a follow-up here of someone who's interested in the mother's wart. So again, if they just email the office, we can help them.
Yeah, easy. We need that point of contact for me to do code, but I'm happy to do it.
Yes, this person has AFib and has, is it Sjogren's disease? SJO? Yeah. And I'm concerned about a prescription my doctor's given me. She has said, you'll have to take it for the rest of your life, but the side effects don't look good for me. Okay,
fair enough. And that's so good question. And that's it. So, and that's why your tribe in general, for all of us, is so important to have resources to, like to reach out to and ask questions. And when you send that email, make note of this conversation. I'll send you some other suggestions in there as well, especially if you have AFib.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
But if we want to create better heart health, I will make some suggestions for helping your heart work better.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I've put the details in the chat there for anybody who wants to reach out.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Next question. Do you ever think that someone is too far gone to begin a holistic approach to healing? My dad has been on prednisone for over 30 years, has had a lot of surgeries, rods in his spine, RA, UC, etc.
So my real simple and fast answer is no. I never believe anyone is too far gone. So, and I'm gonna answer this philosophically, then share something with you, because the moment we have hope, it lights us up. So, and all hope has to do is a concept, a dream, a thought, a bigger why, like answering the why, and then take an action. And when we put those two together, you're vibrating higher. Like we are moving in the direction of live, love, and laugh, right? So the moment that happens, if we think, is there something we can do to solve all those issues, it'll feel overwhelming. But if the only goal would be to just improve spirit, improve a little bit of function, improve the quality of life, never too far gone. Karen, the other day, 2 weeks ago, I had this gentleman comes into my office, 73 years old, and he does 12 pull-ups a day.
That's amazing.
Utterly amazing, Karen. I don't think I can do 12 pull-ups a day.
I was going to say, can you? I definitely cannot. but
embarrassingly, like I couldn't have, and I could when I'm practicing them, but I'm not practicing them right now.
No, yeah.
Super inspiring. And he was in there because he didn't have anything wrong with him. He just could tell he was getting so tight. It was getting hard to pull-ups. So he wanted to improve his range of motion. And
that's amazing.
So for the person who like writes in, no way, and do not see, I think they said my dad has, do not see dad as all those labels that he's been given before. Those are all opportunities for him to just comply and do nothing. Give him something new to comply with. Take action, own it, and like move forward, but not to fix a single one of those, because that mountain, that concept is probably too deep. But just, hey, Dad, want to feel a little better today? Let's try this. Dad, you want to feel like you want to move a little better today? Go like this. Raise your arm, something simple like that. So if we keep it simple and we can have a small victory, and honestly, that's how I practice. Like, I may want someone to be able to, do a fast and, do all this thing, but man, not every one of us is there. So I don't believe anybody is too far gone. I had a 99-year-old patient come to my office when I was in Atlanta. What are they going to say? You're too far gone. You're too.
No, that's what I always talk about my grandma. I mean, she's 98 and people always like, took her forever to get a physio who'd work with her. She's the most compliant. You want to be a physio? She's the most compliant patient you'll have. You tell her to do an exercise, she does it. Right? Like, why not? And the other thing is just, how many cases are there of like spontaneous healing of even more complex stuff of that? People, one of my favorite books is from someone that was, riddled with cancer, about to die, and then managed to, somehow she went into full remission. But the body does like amazing things.
It really, really does. So just, for the person who's asking that question, just know, let your dad be dad, love on him, and stop thinking that we have to fix the label. New label. Just be like, all right, let's work on the be awesome label. right?
Yeah, I like that. The Be Awesome label. Yeah, she says it's the hardest thing to break down the mindset that's been ingrained by Western medicine for so long.
Yeah. So don't fight that battle. You're not going to win that one. I don't win that one. I'm a practitioner. So I flip the script.
Yeah.
And yeah. So just work on the Be Awesome protocol. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Next question. I saw your post on celery juice this morning. Can it be any green juice?
Well, any green juice, if you started the morning off, it would be good. But specifically, so I did a post this morning on Facebook about celery juice. And celery juice is so unique, Karen, where it has so many benefits. Probably for the last year, I think probably about a year, I've been drinking it every morning. And
Okay.
Online, hear people talk about all the benefits from it. I would say this. So when you want it to be organic, like that would almost defeat the purpose if it wasn't.
Okay.
What we're talking about is purging on the liver. So we're going to clean out the liver. The beauty is that it always helps elimination, maybe more than you want, but it is amazing. Even if everyone listening here just did this for the next 30 days, if you did 16 ounces of celery juice every single morning, you could do more if you want. You got to I had to work my way up to 16 ounces. I didn't really like the taste. Now I literally wake up in bed and I wake up out of bed thinking I can't wait to have my celery juice.
Which is just proves that you can get used to anything. People always like, oh, I can't give up my whatever. Like you actually do. Your taste buds change. You can convince yourself to decide that you like anything.
That's a great point because my wife, she was all in it, and I was like, I do not like this. But nonetheless, yeah, I'll tell you, when you start drinking it, the first 30 days is going to be interesting. Your relationship with the restroom, no doubt. And it's okay. It's just you're like, oh, more stuff's coming out of me. Which is awesome. And because we're just trying to purge. So, and I'll put it in I put in a lot of my protocols. If someone has anything to do with fatty liver disease, which is a lot of people, anything to do with gallbladder stuff, liver stuff, I put them on celery juice. That's because it's so easy. You can get a juicer at home. And it is pretty easy because when you only deal with that one and it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, so it doesn't make quite as much as mess. It doesn't oxidize as fast because there's no sugar in there. So it's got a longer shelf life, if you want to call it. You do want to bottle it up, fill the bottle as high as you can. So there's less oxygen in there, put it in the fridge. Ideal world, you get cold pressed. So here, our place right here, we're here in Seagrove, Florida, Prema. We do cold pressed juices, and celery's huge. We can barely keep it in stock sometimes. So,
wow.
So it's super cool. So the answer is any green juice would be good for you, but specifically to what I was talking about this morning, elimination, clearing things out. And then, the other thing too, and I think we talked about this past, the Epstein-Barr virus. This is also a big part of the protocol for anyone who has Epstein-Barr. So
That's amazing.
Yeah. So a big fan of celery juice in the morning. Some people, if you can, you work yourself up to 32 ounces. I know that's kind of a big ask, but if you do that, and again, we're going to try to do cold pressed, organic, first thing in the morning before any other fluids, before your cup of coffee, if you drink coffee, to get it in there and just let your body purge. It's literally awesome. Literally awesome. Yeah.
We got a follow-up question. Can it be mixed with other things, or is straight celery for those benefits?
I'm going to say straight up, if you want to add a little lemon to it, really what I would say to just hunker down, like a quiet taste. Yeah. But if you're mixing it with other things, the answer is no, because part of the secret behind it is some of the types of salts that are in it that go uninvaded and get into different crevices of the liver to help it purge. So the moment you add anything else in, you're going to get just different digestive mechanisms and enzymes that are released, and it just changes the game. So I would say straight up celery juice.
Well, we've got another comment here that's saying she craves it now. And but once she knew how to strain it before drinking it, the bathroom issue slowed down. Do you strain it first?
I get it from Prema. That's what I do.
There you go, guys. Get it from Prema.
It's a cold process there, so you don't. I've juiced it myself. No, I don't have to. We don't strain.
If I've ever juiced it, I just juice it and it just comes out. I don't do anything else. I just drink it out of the juicer.
Yeah, and that's and the beauty of the cold press would just be that, well, for a bunch of reasons, it doesn't beat it up molecular as much. So you're getting, but if you just have a juicer at home, that's awesome. And you'll get a better shelf life out of it if it's cold pressed. But if you're juicing at home, like, yes, do it. Like, don't let that inhibit it. Yeah. Just get her down.
Awesome. All right. Next question here. Do you have any tips for staying healthy during the holidays or when surrounded by people who may not be on a similar health journey to you?
Okay. Yeah.
Coming up. You got holidays in a few weeks now, don't you?
Yeah. So this is what I would say. And I think it's fair, and I think a lot of people listen to this. You're listening to this because health is in your mind. It's become forefront for you. You're like, when it comes to your health, you're proactive. So I would say this holiday season, these next 60 days, starting on Halloween, moving through January 1st, are the most detrimental 60 days to our health there is of the entire year. And I mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. The day after, it's Thanksgiving Day is the number one day of the year for heart attack in our country. Yeah. And number 3 is New Year's Day. That tells us, like what's going on. Like it should open our eyes. There's a pattern every single year. And what is the pattern? It's alcohol, food, and stress. So we should not be complying with everyone's other choices. That would be the easy thing to do. So that means we want to step into it and acknowledge it, identify it, and say, man, why don't I choose a different route, especially after a year and a half of this pandemic thing? Like, shouldn't just be like, like being like, yeah, I'm not going to do it that way anymore. That like shut down the world for a couple of years, which was ridiculous. Why don't we just take a different route? And so for the people listening tonight, acknowledgement, acknowledge what your patterns were a year ago. Most likely there's going to be cocktail parties and sweets and foods. Choose a couple strategies. My favorite one would be this, because I think a lot of people here probably are at least semi-familiar with doing some type of intermittent fasting, is using what I call the play you pay. If you do go out and you eat food later than you normally do, if you have more sugar, more snacks, you're socially eating, which we don't do good when we're socially eating. We're like eating and talking. I should talk about it. That's how it goes for me. Like I'm not good in those environments. I didn't eat everything. And then I come home and I'm like, why did I eat everything? So be conscious and know, like take that ownership of what your weak links are, and don't just act like it's not going to happen. There's most likely more cocktail parties, right? So if you're going to play, immediately the following day you pay. And that's where I say, that's where you fast it out. So have some strategies like that in play. And I would also suggest maybe this year you decide that come January 1, it's game time for you. So we know, and so strategy part of this too. Speaking of strategy, January 3rd, you're going to be, let's do a cleanse. We'll have our cleanse January 3rd. But if you guys can do it, just, recommend you do. Get your stuff, get your order in. We don't know what the supply chain is going to be like how long it's going to take to order. So in the next by next week, we'll have some like stuff out and you'll start to see some emails and stuff. So get your order in as soon as you can for you get your entire cleanse kit. But having a strategy like that, and then also trying to peak in January. I think that's a pretty cool strategy. So you're going to be at your best, not your worst come January 1, and make next year like an entirely new year, an entirely new paradigm for you, because you're going to go into it strong. And versus most of us get to January and we're like toast. I need a cleanse. Like if I don't cleanse, I'm dead. So maybe this year we take a little bit different strategy. And then as far as being around other people, that's the complying. Let's be real here. You do it because it's easier. You comply.
Yeah. Look, yeah, so true.
Yeah, that's it. I know. I do these things. So do
I. Yeah.
What do we do this year? We got to pop, hit ourselves on the chest a little bit, and maybe you flip the script a little bit and recognize, you know what? When people see you leveling up, when they see you one year having 5 cocktails and then next year having none, or you're no longer eating all the snacks and stuff like that, 2 things that go happen. They're going to test you. There's a very good, strong likelihood they'll test you. Come on, just have some. You're fine. It's Christmas. Lighten up a little bit. You're too serious. All that stuff to see if you comply. Also behind there is that individual almost hoping that you don't, because then there's deep down, there's hope for them as well. So know that we are leading by example. So every time you choose to level yourself up and choose, no, I'm good. Someone says, you want to go, a cocktail? No, I'm good. You want some of these cake, whatever? No, I'm good. And you don't have to explain, oh, there's too many carbohydrates in there. There's canola oil. No, none of that crap. Just own it. Just be like, nah, I'm good. Thank you. God bless you. Love you. Whatever. So that's really what I would suggest through the holidays. And it works over time. Like over time, if your friends and your family recognize this is what she does. This is what he does. And then
they get used to it.
And then eventually you're going to show up. This is where it gets fun. They'll be like, hey, Dr. Bart, we made a real healthy salad for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love when you talk about, you don't have to shame the other person into doing it as well or anything. No need to say more than just not for me. Love it. All right, cool. Next question. What does it mean to bloat in the upper abdomen, whatever that word is, I'm not going to try and say it again, and lower abdomen, there you go.
Two different things. So this is a decent question. So we have a little bit more body awareness and understand what's going on with our body. So I'll take the upper first. So always think upper GI, and your upper GI starts with your stomach. Literally that's where the food lands. If we're bloating in the upper GI, typically there's going to be, this is what will take place. One, you have an HCl, you have an acid imbalance. Usually it means your acid's too weak. It cannot break down your food. The moment you eat, boom, you blow up. But it doesn't end there, Karen. Oftentimes, let's just say someone is even using digestive enzymes, or they're eating really healthy food. It's not gluten. It's not all this other stuff. It's really good. They can be eating either unconsciously or while they're in sympathetic dominance. So they could be on the phone. So remember, if we're in sympathetic, where our nervous system's in sympathetic, activity, that is like the go, get stuff done. But parasympathetic activities, where our digestive enzyme, that's rest and digest. So if you're in a mode, you can be eating the right foods. I think I shared this a while ago. Like I have a tendency, like when I eat a smoothie, I eat it really fast. Like I just suck it as fast as and it's just weird. And then it blows my gut up, even though the foods are all perfectly healthy foods that I eat all the time. So this can happen. It's not bad smoothie. It's bad state of being while having that smoothie. And this gets overlooked way too much too. And this is if you have a doctor that hopefully they're paying attention enough to say, what do you mean you're getting it? Like, when do you notice it? And, how do you eat? Do you eat with your family? Do you put your phones away? Are you eating in the car? All those, are you eating at your desk while you're typing away and suturing, like all those things?
Everyone does that, right? You're always, in a meeting, on the phone, in the car.
All of which that all sets our body up for just not a good situation. So you bloat real fast. So that's number one. Lower GI, a little bit different. That's literally the lower belly, think of belly button and down, usually a little bit more uncomfortable. Now we're talking about usually some level of a dysbiosis. That is where the bacteria, your good versus bad, are out of balance. We'll see in these scenarios, that's where you'll see more SIBO situations, leaky gut, all of those kind of longer, prolonged stuff. Usually it starts with an upper GI, poor acid issue, or, not a strong enough acid. But once we get into that lower GI situation, that's when we got to really start to pay attention to, you got to get all the bad guys out, like the gluten, all that stuff's going to have to go. And that's when we're going to have to kill, clean, and then grow. Because once you start to get bloated in the lower abdomen, and I'm not just talking about like one and done, like you had one bad meal, off meal, it bloated, and next day you were fine. I'm talking about like the consistency. Every time you eat, you're getting a lower GI bloating, or you're not even eating and you're getting lower GI, a bloating there. So that's a little bit different. That would be the scenario where if it's happened prolonged, most likely, probably the best conversation here is to then reach out to a practitioner, someone that's used to, someone like myself, or, another practitioner that is familiar with helping, kill off what needs to be killed off. We're talking about candidas, we're talking about overgrowths there, funguses, bacteria, whatever it may be, and then cleaning it out, but then also re-inoculating it with the proper types of different types of probiotic, and there's different ones. Like if you're on antibiotics, we have to use a certain strand that is very effective. And then if you had like, a parasite involvement, which can also be there, there's some other strategies for that as well. And those parasites can mimic a lot of those other things I just described there. So hopefully that creates some clarity. Upper GI, usually just, you got to think about when you're eating, be in an eating state of mind, and then add some hydrochloric acid to break your food down a little better. Lower GI, usually a little bit of a deeper problem.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, next question. How does someone balance feminine and masculine energies in the body? An interesting question.
Yeah, real interesting. And but I love this question because the energy of things is it's all that. What we're doing with our energy, what energy we're using on any given basis, and also being mindful and aware of those energies. So I'm going to simplify this. Again, this could literally be a 3-hour podcast about male and female energy. Saying every one of us has both. Yeah. And the more we can utilize both, and if you could utilize both intentionally, really awesome. Now I'm going to try to simplify this, and this is not just to really the bigger topic here, but I'm going to simplify this. Let's just say that the feminine energy is mostly about nurturing. Okay. And that nurturing is really what brings love to this world. Without the feminine energy and females in general, we wouldn't have a very loving world. That's some truth behind that. So when I say nurturing, though, that it's really important to understand this. So it's typically people think, I'm going to nurture you. I'm going to nurture my children. I'm going to nurture my family. But the nurturing has to start with self. So if you want to know, are you expressing a good level of feminine energy? The simple answer is, are you being nurturing to yourself? And I know that answer as a practitioner. I know that answer for the men and the women. We are getting far, not collectively. Well, and I see a lot of very proactive health people. And then I see people on the other end of it too. But that nurturing is maybe the most overlooked.
Yeah.
We'll do a lot of things, like we'll have the right diet, we'll make the right exercise, but that core piece of like literally nurturing and being calm and loving thyself and getting quiet with our own thoughts, all of those things.
No, we're terrible at it.
Yeah. And now in a guy, you'd have to, nurture your feminine energy. And we don't do that. We just like to knock shit down, like that, right? So, it's no slowing down. You don't see a lot of time for body care and health, like in those types of things. So that's the feminine energy. And being mindful of when to use it and when not to use it. Like if someone's in duress and who's in duress, if you have a feminine energy in front of you, a female, and they have a massive problem and you bring to the table a masculine energy, no, that won't work. So what that means is for us guys, when we try to fix all our wives' issues with like hammer and nail, I'll fix that. How can I fix this for you? No, it's the wrong energy. When we nurture and we become good listeners and that kind of stuff, totally different relationship that we can develop. For the guy, for guys and girls with the masculine energy, this has a lot to do with, one, I'd say non-compliance. This is about finding and challenging to see who you are. And if you kind of are answering the question is, what is my dream? What is my why? And putting that out there, because it's going to take a tremendous amount of confidence and action to move in those directions. When the male energy gets squashed is through compliance. We get labeled. This is what you do, how you do it. Go stick over there and just do this. And as long as we can comply, we can feel kind of good by it because like we're doing what we're supposed to do. But it does not expand who we are consciously, doesn't expand who we are on a vibrational level or spirit, nothing. So for the male energy, to kind of get to that raw primal, what makes us work, what makes us go, for men in the male energy, to be competitive, to push ourselves, to have some level of risk, to be a little bit non-compliant, to let the warrior out occasionally. Healthy. It's healthy to challenge that, to be humbled, to fail, to those things, that is where the male energy steps up, and then they just keep on going. So it's really almost in the essence of everything that comes with the word of confidence. Think of that as masculine energy, and love is kind of the feminine nurture energy. So I don't really know what the question was, but what was
the question? How does someone balance feminine and masculine energy in the body?
I think to acknowledge those two things, and for a female and a male, we both have both. And so I'll give an example, Karen. When I'm in my office every day, when I first meet somebody, they come into my office, and I didn't first meet them, I could have seen you 500 times before. When they first come to my office, I'm using my feminine energy to listen, to hear, to help and understand that in that situation. And even when I touch and all that kind of stuff, most of that needs to be from the energy perspective of feminine energy.
Yeah.
When I give guidance and I'm helping lead and I'm giving instructions, that comes from the male energy. And it may not look or feel any different, but it comes with a sense of confidence and a sense of certainty. And I'm willing to put my reputation on the line and risk failure as a result of doing it in such a way. So that for me, I recognize when if I'm in like my, like mode of like when I like to go do my martial arts, like I can't bring that in the office. That's not going to work. That's me really risking my male energy. But it's also what helps me get humble and then also helps me expand. So I think acknowledging that we have both and embracing both of those. Like if you have a young child, like, they need to be nurtured. You know what I mean? Like they need nurturing. So male or female, mom or dad, you got to nurture. And then there's a time for leadership. So recognizing and when and where those are very effective, that's part of being a master communicator. So great question. Great topic. Again, probably could spend 3 hours.
On almost all these topics, couldn't we?
Like people that could explain that a lot better than me. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think it's interesting to think about. Often we don't stop and think about those differences. And some of us might be stronger in some of those energies than, in one side than the other. Even if we are male or female, we still might be stronger in the other one. So it's, I don't know, it's interesting to think about sometimes. So I want to move on to the last question now. What is our one action that our listeners are going to take from this show to move them towards their goal of becoming superhuman?
Yeah, and that's to come up with a be awesome strategy.
Yes.
I didn't have that, but I think that I like it. And I think that's going to be the new the be awesome protocol. Yeah.
Right? Can't get much better than that.
Whatever makes you awesome, like make up that protocol. So that's the action step for tonight.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Well, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. We so appreciate you being here, and we will be back at the same time, same place next week for another episode of the Health Made Simple show.
Awesome. I appreciate every one of you guys. Keep doing your thing. Keep leveling yourselves up. And of course, we take deliberate action for our minds, our body, overall wellness. Y'all be awesome.